Hey, Mike.
Hey, Tim.
So there's a sequence of methodologies, which is called the morning routine. And we're going to put search criteria that our participants can put into YouTube, and they'll find it very quickly. One of them is sunlight exposure. So here's the deal. You wake up in the morning, and as soon as you can, you go outside or you open windows and you look into the sunshine or you look into the real normal weather. Hamburg's not very good because it's always raining, but it doesn't matter. It can be raining as long as it's fresh sunlight, not through a window. And this is meant to be really good. Why?
Well, I think it has a lot to do with what's called the circadian rhythm, right? Which is essentially your body's body clock, which is part of our sleep-wake cycle that matches with the daylight and the nighttime. So there's an awful lot of science behind this. It's definitely the case where you signal to your body it's time to get up, and it's harder to do that when it's dark, and it's harder to do that when there's no kind of visible natural light. And at the other end of the day, you signal to your body that it's time to go to sleep by, well, not looking at screens for a start is a pretty good way of signaling that. There's definitely a lot of things we can do with the circadian rhythm to align more with what our body naturally does.
Yeah. And the principle is that the body clock clicks into action at a very early stage, and then you're on a timeline until the body naturally gets tired and you want to go to bed. Wearing glasses, it's better to look into the sunlight without the glasses because there's a block. Apparently, the window decreases the value of the sunlight by 50 times. So trying to find an opportunity to get outside and go walk to work, bike to work, all of those things are very good. Are they good at reducing stress or building resilience? I've no idea, but they can't hurt, right?
They definitely can't hurt. I would say that they for sure are going to make a difference, because what you're also doing when you take the time to go out in the sun or switch your screens off an hour before you sleep or whatever it may be, you're actually also kind of psychologically telling yourself that you are prioritizing your own mental health and your own mental well-being, which is impactful in what you're doing, but it's just as impactful because of the mentality that you're creating, where you're actually finding space and priority for yourself.
Yeah. Now, the next one is hydration. It's about water, and it's about basically as much water as you can get before 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 4 o'clock off in the afternoon. Then you can reduce it because otherwise you're awake all night going to the loo. And definitely if you drink a load of water, then you're going to the loo all of the time anyway. But hydration, especially just after waking up, is a very good thing. And you know what? Tom Cruise apparently drinks heaps of water. Yeah. And masses and masses.
Is that why he's able to hang on to the side of airplanes and jump
absolutely
motorbikes off of cliffs and all that?
Yeah,
it's the water.
Yeah.
It's the water that's doing it.
And he doesn't get stressed while he's hanging off the side of the aeroplane.
Well, to be fair, Tom Cruise, I mean, he maybe has some things about him that are a little bit unorthodox, but he's probably a pretty good model for somebody who is very much in control of their mindset and the way they do things, and is very, very disciplined. Yeah.
Physical activity, of course, is the next one. So exercise routines, even if they're only 10 minutes long or 5 minutes long, even early in the morning before you get into the scope of the day, can be a very good thing. There's a big motivational boost that comes through that as well. I know for myself, I'm relatively good at getting my exercises done in the morning. And when I don't, there's always a niggling feeling of, I wish I'd done it. I should have done it. And it definitely makes me feel better.
Yeah, totally makes sense. Habit building in this way is so incredibly important. I remember a friend of mine back when I worked back in England, he would get out of bed as late as possible to throw some clothes on and run to work. And I think it was just incredibly unhealthy, because he's not giving himself time to wake up. He's not having the opportunity to relax and ease himself into the day. There's no space for exercise or getting some sunlight. It's really, and I mean, I can say he was not particularly happy with his kind of work-life balance, but I feel as though he was creating it himself in some sense, but building
Yeah,
the habit is really, really important.
yeah. Caffeine delay.
Well,
There we go.
how's that going?
Yeah, how's that go? Well, the theory goes if you can put off caffeine for an hour to 90 minutes, then it's very, very beneficial because the peaks and troughs of the caffeine hit, they begin a little bit later and they allow your body to ease into the day in a more natural way before you actually need the caffeine hit. And I think the idea is that it's not that effective first thing in the morning and is much more effective a bit later on.
Yeah, it's another one that I completely agree with. I mean, I have to admit that caffeine is a small vice of mine. It is something that I probably drink as soon as possible from waking, I would say, but I'm definitely aware of that. And not just when you drink caffeine, but the overall kind of reduction of caffeine, because as I'm sure we all know, caffeine does contribute to things like anxiety. And so particularly if you have too much, it can actually have the opposite effect of what you wanted it to.
Mm-hmm. And number 5 is mindfulness or journaling. Mindfulness, I mean, basically is meditation or autogenic training. We're going to be going into that a little bit more later. And journaling is writing thoughts down. Do you do anything like that?
So I do some mindfulness exercises. Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a key difference between yogic exercises and mindfulness exercises. When practicing yoga, the idea is to clear the mind, right? To effectively reach a state where you don't have thoughts. There are no thoughts there. Whereas mindfulness is almost the opposite. Mindfulness is becoming aware of your thoughts and kind of allowing them to come naturally, creating a distance between them where you become conscious of what just came into my mind, which could be completely random and unrelated to whatever you're doing, and just being aware of it and watching that thought flow through your brain, and then it can disappear out the other side. A really nice visualization I was given was this idea of imagining your thoughts as clouds drifting by in the sky. So it really genuinely works to do that. So mindfulness is something that I do, and I do journal. I have to admit, not daily, but I do really find that when there's particularly a problem,
Mm-hmm.
journaling works for me. What I also do, Tim, and it might make me sound a little bit loopy, but I also talk to myself.
Oh,
I learned this from a friend of mine. He told me he talks to himself all the time, and he is somebody that I look at as somebody who really seems to have it all figured out, And
okay.
so I said, okay, well, if he can talk to himself, then maybe I'll do it. And it genuinely helps because when you put things into words, it's kind of the same as journaling. You're putting it out into the
Yeah.
world. You're arranging it in a logical order, and actually just speaking out a problem, even if it's to no one, I find is very, very helpful.
Mm-hmm. I've got the mindfulness, as I say, I'll share my examples later. But the journaling, I've got 3 sheets of paper in front of me, actually right now, which are focused on different business areas, different topics, and I'm preparing for a discussion that I need to have in one way, shape, or form. Yeah. You remember The Wolf of Wall Street? A great film, but the process of developing a script that you speak about to customers on the phone, that process was something that the original, I can't remember his name, but the original seller,
Jordan
you know,
Belfort.
was it Jordan? Okay,
Belfort. Yeah.
Jordan Belfort. So he didn't just write one line and then that was it. Yeah. He had sheets and reams of paper where he wrote one line and then tried that, and then another line and then tried that, and then another line and then tried that. And from a psychological perspective, he was preparing himself to say the words by writing them down in advance. Yeah. So, for sure, a very confident person. But behind the confidence was a level of preparation and a level of getting prepared to deal with that situation, that stress, that slightly prickly situation when you know that you're kind of up there in front. And so writing stuff down before you say it is a I mean, what's not to like about that idea, right? So end of film number 1. What are our reflection questions, Mike?
I mean, I've got to open it up, Tim. I don't have it in front of me. I've got to be honest with you.
Well, number one is definitely, do you do this? Do I do this? That's number two. Are there any of these ideas or techniques that I think I could definitely think about improving on? Is there something within here that sparks a little bit of motivation and desire to change something?